Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim Kelly. This is The Real Sports Talk, joined by a panel of MLB experts tonight. We got John Check, who is a big Tigers fan, does Justin Verlander 35 here on YouTube. We have Justin Godsey, who's been with The Real Sports Talk for a long time, doing work over at Rant Sports now, and Mike Hewitt, who's a big Red Sox fan. And three of our four teams that we're fans of were heavily involved in a big trade tonight. My team, not necessarily, but John's team and Mike's team both get involved in this Jake Peavy deal that sends Jake Peavy to the Red Sox. It will send Avisail Garcia to the Tigers, or to the White Sox, I should say. And then it will send Jose Iglesias, who has had a really good season, batting .330 in 2013. It will send them to the Tigers. And John, before we even break down this trade, just give a quick sum up of why the Tigers are acquiring a top shortstop, because we know that giving up Avisail Garcia wasn't exactly ideal, but they do have Austin Jackson out there, and now they have a shortstop for when it appears Johnny Peralta will get suspended, which should be imminent at this point.
Well, that's exactly why they would have had to get a shortstop in the deal. I wasn't sure if Peralta was going to get suspended this year. You heard so many wishy-wash reports from guys like Ken Rosenthal and everything else. Oh, they're not getting suspended until 2014. Only this guy might get suspended. And, as the trade deadline is coming closer to an end, all we heard was about Peralta's suspension, and the MLB is going to be releasing it in a couple days, who's going to get suspended. And apparently it's going to be very close for when Peralta gets suspended for Dombrowski to have to go and make a move with only hours left in the deadline to get Jose Iglesias.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any question. This was a smart move about this, because I think that the Tigers are probably one of the best teams, if not the best team in the American League. We know they can hit, and Johnny Peralta has had another really good season. He was an all-star, and if he's suspended, you cannot just wait and be blindsided by this when pretty much everyone knows that he's going to be suspended. But getting back to the deal as a whole, the big piece moving in this trade, at least name-wise, is Jake Peavy. He's going to the Boston Red Sox. The name sounds good. Last year he had a .337 ERA, but this year he's had some trouble staying healthy. And in 13 games, he has a .428 ERA, a whip over 1. I got to be honest, if I am the Boston Red Sox and I'm going to give up a top prospect, I'm already giving up one top prospect here in this trade, or I guess it's not a prospect, he's performed really well at the MLB level this year, but I got to give up one top player who is very young and has performed extremely well. I'm not doing it for Jake Peavy, who has a .428 ERA. 3 out of the last 4 years has had an ERA over .425, and one of those years was a .492 ERA. I know he's playing in U.S. Cellular, which is not necessarily a pitcher's ballpark, but it's not like Fenway Park is either. So I don't get this trade. And Mike, you're a Red Sox fan. What do you think about this deal?
I'm not a big fan of it. I do understand that the Red Sox were looking to get a starter. I know that Cliff Lee was rumored to be available earlier, but the Phillies were asking price was too high. But, Jake Peavy, as you mentioned, his ERA is in 4.26. He's had 3 starts of 6 earned runs, and other than that, I think if you take away those 3 starts, which isn't really fair to do, his ERA is a lot better. But I think by and large, he's a middle-of-the-rotation type of guy, something the Red Sox have plenty of. They don't have really that ace kind of starter, unless you say Clay Buchholz, who hasn't pitched since June. And I know that what they gave up Jose Iglesias, a guy that they could have had for a few more years. He played outstanding defense. The Red Sox, their prerequisite for a shortstop is a guy that can hit. And Iglesias, although he's hitting .330 this year, doesn't really fit that mark. I think he's overachieving. He's not a .300 hitter. He's more about a .250 hitter, and you'll see that throughout his career. And they have Xander Bogaerts in the minor leagues ready to take over that position. So I guess it's a trade they needed to make, but I'm not a big fan of it.
So if you're the Red Sox, you're Ben Cherington, would you have gone out for Cliff Lee? Because I'm a Phillies fan. I like Cliff Lee a lot, but to get $25 million off the book, to get someone who we're kind of hearing, not that he's becoming a distraction in the sense that Jonathan Papelbon is, but that he's kind of becoming unhappy with the situation in Philadelphia, which is understandable. Would you have gone out and just pretty much given up your entire farm system for Cliff Lee, a guy who's still under contract? He was an all-star this year. To me, if you're going to go for it, you go for it.
Well, I think that Red Sox fans need to realize that this is a bridge year. They aren't really supposed to win. And I know Cliff Lee, it's a fun name to play with. If they ever acquired him, it'd be really fun. But I don't think you sell your farm in a year like this, where even if you do get Lee, you're still not a guarantee to get to the World Series. And I will say this. Cliff Lee's contract is still fairly expensive, and you have to still sell the farm and take on that money. I wouldn't have been a big fan of it, unless you could have worked out a deal that didn't involve Xander Bogaerts, which I know they asked for, or Jackie Bradley Jr., and maybe Henry Owens as pitching prospect. Maybe I'd consider it, but if any of those three were involved, I would have said no.
Yeah, it's certainly tough. I think that there was some late speculation that maybe the Phillies would take on a little money in that deal. I'm not sure. I'm just a frustrated Phillies fan, and I want to see something change. So I guess that's just me spitballing ideas. But it does sound like the Phillies did push hard to get Garcia from the Tigers. That's according to Bob Nightingale of USA Today. That necessarily does not necessarily mean that it would have been a Cliff Lee trade. It could have been a Jonathan Papelbon trade. I don't know. I don't know honestly why anyone would bring Jonathan Papelbon into their clubhouse at this point, but that's beyond me. Justin, you're the one person who doesn't have a team, is somewhat involved in this at least, but what do you think from an outside perspective? Jake Peavy heads to the Red Sox in a big deal. It sends Iglesias over to Detroit and then Garcia over to Chicago.
I really kind of like this deal because, when you look at Jake Peavy, yes, he has not been injured, or he has not been the almost healthiest over the past few seasons, but you know what? The Boston Red Sox are adding depth to this pitching rotation, and I really like what they have. When you look at this rotation without what it is, when you put Jake Peavy into the mix, I'm still questioning if Clay Buchholz will be healthy. Is he going to make his way back to the rotation? He's doing a fantastic job, so this is how it will go down. John Lester, Clay Buchholz, Jake Peavy, John Lackey, who's really coming out of nowhere and really stepping up. You got Felix Dubron. This rotation is really ready to go to war on the second half of the season. I like Jake Peavy a whole lot going to Boston, but you know what? I think Boston really gave up a whole lot with Jose Iglesias going on to the Detroit Tigers. But you know what? I like what they have, and you know what? This Boston Red Sox team is going to be really set to go to war and go deep in the playoffs with Jake Peavy under contract with them and going to be, pitching against the other American League teams.
I got to be honest, though. I think that A, it's a Tampa Bay Rays division to win, and B, I think the Orioles end up second in that division before it's all said and done. And I just look around, and I don't understand this move from the sense that Jake Peavy just has not been that good this year. He has not been that good this year, and you're giving up someone who, maybe Mike's right and he's overachieving, but he is overachieving. He's hitting .330 this season, so to give him up for someone that you're not sure what you're getting necessarily from him health-wise and production-wise, I don't know. I mean, the rotation, it sounds good if it was 5 years ago, maybe John Lester three years ago, but then you look at, this is not the Jake Peavy of 2006, this is not the John Lackey of 2007 with the Angels, so I'm just not sure that this was the smartest move that the Red Sox could have made. Will it help? It will probably help a little bit. But I think out of the three people traded in this deal, I'm not sure that the Red Sox didn't get the worst part of it, John.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing I do want to say about Peavy, I know that his numbers, you look at him at first glance, have not looked that good, and I will completely agree with you on his health. He hasn't made back-to-back 20-start seasons since 2007-2008, so health has been a big issue. But this year, he's averaging almost 4.5 strikeouts to every walk. He's averaging 9.2 strikeouts per nine. His walks per nine is just a shade over 2. And he's had 6 starts of 3 runs or less this year. So he has put up good numbers. It's been his starts of 6 runs or more that has really killed his ERA. So he has pitched well a little bit. And here's a stat I want to throw it at you why I think this might be a good move for the Red Sox. Because how tough the AL East is this year, in 5 starts against teams with 500 records or better, he's got a 3 ERA and he's 5-0. So he's pitching and winning against good teams. So that's a good thing, good sign for the Red Sox. But like you guys said, I have to agree, his health is going to be a big issue. I've watched him against the Tigers the last few years, and I saw him dominate, I saw him struggle, but his health is just going to be the biggest thing to this deal. Can he stay healthy? Can he make 15 more starts to the Red Sox?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing it's going to come down to. If he's able to stay healthy and produce and be a 3 starter in the playoffs for this team, I guess a lot of it just depends. Do they make the playoffs? But Jake Peavy ends up going to the Red Sox. I still look at the Tampa Bay Rays as the best team in that division, and I still like what the Orioles have. I don't think the Yankees are going to do much in the second half, to be honest. And the Blue Jays have been out of things for quite a while now. So we'll see what ends up happening. Jake Peavy headlines a huge 3-team deal that has implications on biogenesis and everything. I'm not sure anything else is going to really end up happening that tops this at the trade deadline. So this may end up being on the night of July 30th, almost July 31st here on the East Coast. This may end up being the biggest deal of the trade deadline. I'm Tim Kelly for Justin Godsey, John Check, and Mike Hewitt. We'll catch you guys next time.